Hey guys, Josh here for Sportitude, and it is shoe review time, and it is going to be on none other than the new and improved Gel Cumulus 22. This shoe here has had some serious upgrades and a lot to like about it. So what we're going to do with this review, and like I do with all of my reviews, we're going to talk all things engineering, cover the outsole, the midsole, and obviously the upper. We're going to talk about the runner that could be considering this shoe from reference to their foot type, and what sort of cushioning system is on offer to then maybe compare it to where you could slip it into your shoe rotation, being a long shoe, quick tempo runs, etc. And we're also going to compare it to where it was with the 21, and essentially those changes right through there. So yeah, there's a lot going on through here. Looking forward to this review. So let's get stuck in. So cool, what I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to hold up the Cumulus 22. This shoe here is the one that I've been doing some wear testing in. Now, I was again lucky enough to get a pair through from Asics around about 4 months ago. So I've had this shoe for quite a long time. And I had to go for a run yesterday, and just to refresh my memory, because what I did was I put 50 kilometers into this shoe a couple of months ago, which is around 30 miles, just to get a good read on what it's all about. So took it for some longer runs, some slower runs, and also did some sessions in it as well, some tempo runs. And I've got to be honest, there is a lot to like about this shoe in comparison to its predecessor, the 21. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to profile the runner that could be considering this shoe here. So it is a neutral running shoe. So what that essentially means, on the medial side, there's no additional sort of support systems, like dynamic support systems in play. It is the same density on the medial side as it is on the lateral side. So therefore, what we're talking about is a foot type that has a tendency to stay relatively neutral through their gait. Sometimes it looks a little bit like this, high arch, like so, or we have the neutral foot type that has a static position which may have a flattened out arch. However, that runner coming through their transition doesn't have the tendency to favour that medial side through there, so stays nice and balanced through their gait, potentially towing off second, third metatarsal. The other thing to note with the Cumulus 22, it's orthotic friendly. Sock liner comes out, orthotic goes in, so if you are a runner that does have an orthosis, you can comfortably put it inside this shoe. You may have to tinker with the lock lace just to get that foot nice and secure with the extra elevation in your heel lift with your orthotic as well. First thing we're going to talk about is the outsole. So what we've got going on here is full ground contact. Nothing has really changed from what they did with the Cumulus 21. Now, I happen to be holding a ladies here in front of me, so you can see there's a rubber outsole the whole way through to the forefoot. The biggest change is the flexibility of this shoe through here. So what we have in my hand now is a 21. So you can see you've literally got 1, 2, and I would say maybe 3 if you combine that little flex groove there with this little 2/3 number. So 3 flex grooves through the forefoot. It was okay. It was a real crack at a stable neutral shoe from the Asics family. For mine, it was not a bad shoe. It ran okay, but the feedback was that it was just a little bit too stiff and potentially a little bit too dense in the midsole. So they've really gone back, listened to the runners out there, and changed the way the 22 is going to perform. So what we have with the outsole set up through here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flex grooves right through the forefoot. So straight away, this shoe is going to flex a lot more from what we classify as mid starts to toe off. So it's going to have an easier ride for that runner. The rubber, essentially, or density of the rubber hasn't really changed. The high impact rubber through the back of the heel through here for that heel striker. But if you happen to be a midfoot runner like myself, hitting this zone through here, you're going to have a nice consistent plush purchase with the ground. I really did like how this shoe feels. I loved how it ran. And I'm going to be very, very confident that if you happen to be a midfoot runner and you like, or you are a neutral have a neutral running gait, pardon me, you're going to like how this shoe feels underneath your foot. Now coming through to the midsole. So technically you got your flight foam technology with the 21s, and that strategically placed gel cushioning underneath the heel, as well as twist gel through the forefoot as well. Same thing with the 22s, you got the strategically placed gel cushioning at the back of the heel and twist gel underneath your first metatarsal in the forefoot. However, the density of foam and the weight of the foam has changed. They've actually lightened the foam underneath the foot and made it a fraction softer as well. So what that has done is, first things first, when you get that first feel and step inside this shoe, it feels more compliant. It's a bit softer underneath the foot, and obviously with the weight reduction as well, the midsole, it's a nice combination of a little bit of cushioning and that nice lightweight responsive feel through the forefoot. This is by no means targeted at someone who's really craving lots of cushioning. They've got the Gel Nimbus and they've got the Gel Nimbus Lite to cater for that runner. This is the runner that potentially wants something that's cushioned enough, a relatively efficient runner, for example, that wants a slightly more responsive ride. So when we're sort of looking at that style of shoe, it potentially might be someone that has a higher cadence or a really efficient running or gait cycle. So someone that's probably picking the pace up a little bit more and wants more of a responsive, snappy feel underneath the foot, but with that protection element and not sacrificing too much to get that weight reduction. So that's sort of where the Cumulus 22 sits in the whole scheme of things. With regards to the midsole as well, we've got a pretty generous stack height. We're talking 23 millimeter heel, 13 millimeter forefoot for the men's, and there's just a 1 millimeter variance with the ladies. It's a 22-12 mil offset through there. So relatively generous offset of 10 millimeters through the midsole through there, which again is pretty generous in the whole scheme of things. I mean, we can go up to 12 and 13s with some running shoes, but more often than not, we're seeing around 8 to 10 millimeter heel to toe offset with the vast majority of running shoe brands out there. So yeah, staying pretty consistent to where it was previously. So yes, they've tinkered with the midsole in regards to the weight and the density of foam, so it's a bit softer. However, they've kept it very similar feel in regards to the heel to toe pitch, which is a pretty good thing to do from Asics. You don't want to tinker with it too much and change that whole static position of the offset for a Cumulus runner out there. Coming through to the upper, so that's probably, other than the midsole, has been my favourite feature in this shoe because I liked how it felt on the foot. There's no restrictions that I felt that sort of hugged me in areas that felt a little bit too tight on the foot. It's got a slightly more rounded toe box, so therefore what we find through the front half of this shoe through here is that the toe I found the toe has a little more space, a little bit more wriggle room on offer, which is great. I happen to be holding the D width in my hands through here, and true to size and width, I've been happy with how that felt through there. From time to time, I do happen to run in 2Es. It just depends on the manufacturing of the shoe. So I would certainly classify myself a D width, and this fits true to size and true to width. 9 US D width fits me perfectly. And when we're coming through talking about width, before I get onto the heel counter and other features, we do have a 2E and 4E on offer for men. So you've got your D, 2E and 4E. Unfortunately, I don't have a ladies sample here on offer. Awkward one with the width offering for the ladies out there. So with this shoe in women's, the D width has been the most popular width globally. So they've stuck with the D width. They've had to unfortunately pass in a B width, and a lot of that had to do with manufacturing a colour specifically for the Tokyo Olympics, a bit of a marketing play from Asics, and that has been pushed back a few months. We might see the B width come into the later half of 2020. But in terms of the widths on offer, they have a D and they've got a 2A. So they're sort of catering a really narrow foot and someone who wants a little bit more generosity as well. So as I touched on, a really nice secure fit up top. Nice and free through that toe box. I like the amount of wriggle room. However, the lining on the inside, a huge improvement from what they had with the 21s. So the 21 had quite a fair bit of foam through here. So I've got the ladies in my hand. There was a lot of foam. And I think they probably went down the path of trying to provide too much comfort. Yes, you can get too much foam and too much comfort when you're talking about upper with a running shoe. This was just compressing a little bit too much around the back of a lot of runners' heels. It just felt a little bit too restrictive with regards to how it was compressing around the back of the heel and Achilles. I personally found it okay, but the feedback was it was just a little bit too much, almost like it was suffocating the back of the runner's heel. So they're still stuck with that memory foam on the inside, and they've got a nice little soft lining. It's really good to touch. It's not irritable at all on the skin. But they've just reduced the amount of foam at the back, which is going to give a little bit more of a consistent feel. You can always play around with your lock lace and get that heel lock system going to get that really secure fit. However, I like what they've done with this heel counter. It's internal, so it's nice and strong, plenty of support around the back, but the comfort factor on the inside of this heel counter is absolutely spot on. So well done to Asics right through there. There you have it, guys. I reckon that is pretty much all I can do with this shoe. It is a very comfortable shoe. As I touched on, it's for the runner that wants a fair bit of protection underneath their foot, but by no means leaning on heaps of cushioning, but really likes that responsive feel through their gait cycle. It's a perfect combination. It's a bit like the Brooks Ghost, to be completely fair. Great cushioning, nice and responsive feel. So that's where I would stick the Gel Cumulus 22. It'd be almost a comparable shoe to the Brooks Ghost, which is saying quite a lot because the Ghost 13 and 12, for that matter, have been fantastic shoes the last couple of seasons. So there you have it, guys. Cumulus 22, love this shoe. Now, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit the red button down below. And if you've got any comments or questions on the Cumulus 22, or if you've had the pleasure of trying one on, let us know. Drop a comment in the comments field below. And until next time, happy running, and we'll see you on the road. Take care.